Okay, so now we're going to have a look at Chapter 14, Section 3 homework. There's two questions that we'll be looking at, and the first question, I'll just do it with you here on the actual screen. So when it comes up. Alright, so the only thing I'm going to caution you on this is just to watch the labeling of these curves. So always remember the marginal cost curve that is lower or below means the costs are lower than the marginal cost curve that's above it. So like at some quantity, the marginal cost for A is higher than it would be for B. And the same is true with average. The average, the one that's higher up, their costs are higher than the costs below it. And the only thing that's a little tricky in this question is the way they've labeled these. So in this question, or in this part of the question, the marginal cost curve for A is higher than the one for B. But in the average total cost, it's the average total cost of B is higher than A. So this particular question is having you look at what would marginal cost be before and after there's a change in the market. So I think you'll be able to do this. You'll just, again, watch the labeling of how these things have been labeled. This part of the question, after you've done that, asks you what will happen what will happen in this market for the supply of boats that part of its production is based on oil and the price of oil has gone down. So this is nothing but looking at costs of production. So how does a drop in the price of an input, in this case the oil, what impact will it have on the supply curve? So it's almost like Section 1 materials. You'll click on the line and then you're going to kind of move it to where you think it would go. Remember, decrease in costs in production, increase supply, increases in cost production, decrease supply. So I think you'll be able to do this question. We'll continue on to the next one. When this one first comes up, it might seem to be a little daunting. So you're given this information. You're told that this company faces these different costs of production. So you're given at certain output levels, what are the fixed costs? As you'll notice, they don't change, which is always true. Remember, fixed costs in short run are whatever they are. So whether we produce nothing or 6 units, it will be whatever it is. In this case, it's 120. And then those variable costs will always change depending on, the inputs that it takes to produce certain levels of output. So variable costs will always be different. So you're given this information, and then it looks like, oh my gosh, now you have to fill in all these different columns, but you'll just want to do one thing at a time. So I'm going to pull up this question in the Word document. I've typed it up so that we have the information here so that we can take a look at it. So the chart that you're asked to complete in the homework is right here. And all I've done is I've just kind of labeled what you'll be doing. So you're given output, you're given fixed costs and variable costs, and then you're asked to fill in the rest. So it's just practice, getting used to what's total cost, what's marginal cost, and so forth. So we'll just do a couple of these. So at quantity of output 0, our total cost would be our fixed, plus our variable, which would be 0, so that would be 120. Let's do the next one. Let me change that to a 1. Okay. At output level of 1, it would be 120, fixed cost doesn't change, plus the variable cost, which would be 60, so that would be 180. I'll put that on the separate line, 180. At output of 2, our fixed cost would still be 120, plus the variable of 80, so that would equal $200. And you would just keep on going down the line. And then to fill these out, which we've done in class, we're just going to look at, remember, incremental change. And I always like to just put the x's where it's the quantity is 0. So we're never going to have anything on that top line. So I just always put x's to remind myself. So here your marginal cost will be from output level of 0 to 1, how much did cost change, and divide it by how much the output changed. So in this case, the cost changed from 120 to 180, so went up by 60, divided by the change in output of 1, so it'll be 60. So we'll do one more. So from 1 to 2, our cost went from 180 to 200, so the change was 20, and divided by 1, which equals 20. And we would just keep on going on down to come up with our marginal cost curve. And then to get average fixed costs, we would use the total fixed cost and divide it by Q. For average variable, we do our total variable cost divided by Q, and then we do the same for average total. So I don't think you'll have issues, filling in this chart. You're then asked a few questions on this homework question, and I'm just going to point out it's very, very important that you pay attention to the information they give you. And in the question, you're told that the price that this firm can receive for each item sold is $60. And they don't tell you that the price changes. So that means every single unit they sell, they will get $60 for that product. So if they're getting $60 for every unit they sell and it doesn't change, that means that their marginal revenue, remember that's your extra revenue you get from selling one more unit, is always going to be that price of 60 because it doesn't change. Okay, so one other hint or reminder I want to make for you on this question is we always want to produce where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So that's going to mean you'll want to find where your marginal cost and marginal revenue equal $60. And I know on the first one it is 60, but I'm just going to caution you that there's going to be another one that's 60 further on down. And you're actually going to want to use that one because, for example, in this case at the second unit, when marginal revenue for selling the second unit, you get revenue of $60 and that cost to produce that unit is 20, you'd be making money from producing this unit. So you'll want to keep going. So again, the hint here on this question is find where marginal cost equals marginal revenue is 60, and you'll find it's at 5. So I'm hoping this is going to help you with this homework. And that's it.